So really quickly, following up here on the 15th, just getting out of the gym, a light workout this morning. Following up on the issues with Blair and her husband or whatever. First thing is her husband is the primary one who is doing this. You have to acknowledge that in terms of the actual rule violation, if Blair is not the one on the snow machine driving up there and doing that. So regardless, though, it's a kennel would say that they, just like Christine, Andy, and other mushers who have uh, toed the line, if not directly broken the rule in the past, they're both responsible for it and both sort of guilty, and that's why that team should be penalized, to explain that angle of it. Secondly, though, is this guy's name real? Quincy Mountain is sort of a weird, strange name. Maybe it's a real name, maybe it's not. What is the deal? You know what I mean? Why does someone like that, and it's not just that they're cheating or towing line cheating, they're doing everything in such a cheesy way. And it's sort of ironic and funny from Wisconsin, but, cheating in a cheesy way, not someone cheating, in a real dramatic way, but it's really, again, I just want to underline, focus on the fact that it's against the, uh, the mission of the race, the wilderness race concept, and having the distances between the checkpoints. And I think if the snow machine's out there at a checkpoint when there are officials there and they can see, they can see what's going on, I think you're probably okay. They're at a remote cabin, like the old woman cabin between Unoclean and Caltag, and chances are the rules getting broken there, and chances are it was planned. And if that's not the case, then you just shouldn't be intersecting with that dog team at a place in the race like that. And they certainly, should know better. But I just want to point again that the brand of these guys is so cheesy. You know what I mean? It's just so. And I'm not trying to pick on them and be a bully. You know what I mean? I'm trying to just be firm and be strong in the fact that this guy, Blair's husband, and their fake social media followers that they bought were attacking me for pointing out that they were towing the line to break that rule and or breaking the rule. Now, and I said it yesterday, I'm just going to say it again, that, this isn't, I say the same thing about another team did the same thing. So this isn't anything personal against Blair or Quincy, but it's in the context of me putting the video up more so because they're fake followers that they bought, and it's so obvious. I don't want to get into that the description word I use, which is cheesy. It's so cheesy and obvious. That's not the right way to build a brand in this day and age, to have a bunch of fake followers without real names, and without profile pictures and with stupid little fake descriptions, and to do it in such a cheesy and cheap and fake way, and just write really cheesy and trashy little articles in Outside Magazine about this precious, beautiful sport and this wilderness way of life, and do it in such a way, the way everything that they do, I take issue with the more I look at it, because it's not just like a person who's recreational and in it. They're doing it in a way that's, I think, exposing the sport of dog mushing in the state of Alaska and all of the history and the culture in a way that's, I go back to the word cheesy, but not just cheesy, but it's a way that, they're missing the values that were supposed to be memorialized and shared, and the cultural issues, the hunting, the fishing, that stuff is not highlighted with the way these people, their approach and their delivery, and, they do it in a flip it and casual way. They want to borrow dogs from Nick Petit after being pulled out of the John Berry Sled Dog Marathon up there in Alaska in the Kobuk 440 next year. And it's almost like a rich girl at the bank, and that's really the hard rich girl at the bank impression that I think most of the other, a lot of the other competitors get from Blair. And that's a problem that exists within the mushroom community outside of the specific Blair. There's a lot of these people who come and do it and have the money and just buy the dogs, or buy a cabin. Or most successful mushers, have a lot of money. But that's again why this one dog class race brings it back to that self-reliant stuff and that living off the land stuff, which was, what the race and the history and the culture, not even just what the race and Joe Reddington Sr., but really I go back and, the values of the North Woods and the values of the wilderness, not even just Alaska, but, in the lower 48 too, that's the stuff that this race that I'm trying to build and this brand that I'm trying to build is really dedicated towards commemorating, memorializing, and, making it so that those traditions live on, and, those traditions across cultures live on and in a durable and in a long lasting and permanent way to make sure that this connection that our ancestors, our ancestral history, all of our ancestors the world over and different places had with the landscape. So if you're a Navajo from the Southwest, or if you're an Athabascan from Alaska in terms of the natives, or if you're a French Canadian immigrant, you know ancestry like me from the East Coast, and or if you're a Latina American from the West Coast and have an ancestry in a way through uh, your parents, your grandparents, your great grandparents, and those people, and how they were able to farm, how they were able to live off the land. There's two different ways, two different coastlines of this continent that go back to ancestry in different uh, parts of the world. And there's a tradition of living and cooking and and hunting and fishing and moving across the landscape, and to have people from those two different uh, geographic and those two different cultural ways of almost like two different languages to come together in a challenge, and focus on how we want to memorialize the different ways, just like different languages we want to keep alive, different cultures we want to keep alive in the onslaught of development, and we want to memorialize that, but we want to have it be a challenge. So it's like the sports reporter Cale Casey. He's I believe he's got some, I don't know what his deal is, but he's, I think, from California, Latin American. It's again like that's the type of person. If they met me in this challenge, or if they met someone like me in this challenge, or what I mean, there would be different angles of approach, I think, and there would be different ways of going at it, and that would be part of the beauty of the competition. But more importantly, that would be the way that these two different people from two different coasts, what I mean, two different parts of America, but not just America, but two different parts of our immigrant history, of our cultural legacies that date back a few generations, but also millennia to ancestors. Just like there would be two different ways if it was a Navajo and if it was an Athabascan, or even Inuit and an Athabascan in Alaska and in the Southwest, in terms of more. In terms of the indigenous, in terms of the native cultures, and those people could be there too. So there'd be four different ways of going at this in terms of its approach, in terms of the living off the land aspect, in terms of that preparation, in terms of that tradition of that ancestral bond with the earth and living off the earth. So it wouldn't just be who can buy it, who can get a sponsor, who can raise the money online because they write for Outside Magazine, because they got published, because they went to college. You know what I mean? Who can raise the money online because they're writing some articles about funny stuff for the New York Times. You know what I mean? They're writing some stuff about uh, having a relationship that's different than the way it's always been, in sort of an exaggerated way, sort of a way that I think toes the line towards, again, people who are just in it for the glamour, people who are in it to try to make a splash in the pool, but not necessarily swim the right way. And that's Blair Breverman and Quincy Mountain, her husband, if that's even a real name. And these people went after me, an American, a person who's got a dog mushing history. And they went after me with fake accounts because they don't have the guts and the courage to compete against me in my race. They don't have the guts and the courage and the ability and the insight and the drive and the intelligence to do iditarod the way it was supposed to be done. And that's without outside assistance. And that's why those people are an embarrassment and a disgrace to Alaska. And that's why the Alaskan news, how they were duped by these couple kids from Wisconsin, how they were duped. And, Zachary Hughes, writing for Alaska Public Radio Network, went out there to the Denali Lodge on a snow machine with them. I don't think he's ever gone to another Iditarod kennel ever. And it's because they have 70 fake thousand on followers on Twitter. So, he's chumming up and buddying up with these people for their fake PR and stuff. And he's crossing the line and no longer becoming an objective reporter too. So, but more importantly, it's just silly stuff. This is kindergarten stuff. It's a second grade picture book she wrote. There isn't a brand there. There isn't a passion there and a heart and a soul there. That's cheesy stuff. That's not what Iditarod in Alaska was supposed to be about, I don't think. And I don't think that that's what Iditarod is about. And I don't think that's what, the newspapers should be focusing on. That's a hollow gesture when you donate a little money to the schools, but then you attack someone and it's a whole gesture when you donate some money to schools with your fake followers, right? And you don't have real friends, but then you attack someone who is trying to also do good, just in a way that's different than you, and you attack them in a fake way too, with fake followers and stuff. So it's just interesting to me that this is a person who, Blair Bradman or Quincy, who are, they have a special little weird relationship or something like that, and they want to write about it very publicly, and they're all about, how they're being progressive and everything like that. But then they're just turning around trying to silence someone and attack someone who simply is pointing out that they're violating the rules in a competition. And it's not a Twitter competition. You know what I mean? It's not, Alaska is not a Twitter buying Twitter followers. Alaska, not just Alaska, but, life is not buying Twitter followers. And that's why they don't have any traction on Facebook, and they don't have as much traction on Instagram, is because they're fake and they're phony and they're cheesy. And they're everything that's wrong with what, you know, what I did or I was supposed to be about. And it's not just, and there's so many other, it's again, it's not them. It's just like, there's, if when other people do the same thing, have the Snow Machine up the trail, I'm saying the same thing. Okay, so it's not just them. I say the same to Christy Barrington, Andy Poole, when Kathy Chapton was out there. You know what I mean? Yeah, not just towing the line, breaking the rule, and especially, but more importantly, I just want to go back to the fact, meeting the team outside of the checkpoint where there's no officials there. That's the heart and the soul of the rule violation.